Hi everybody, it's Erin and welcome back to Waiting Moose. Tonight I'm going to do a book haul for you. These are books I picked up in a book outlet sale earlier in May. Actually, I think the sale happened in April and they got delivered in May. So, I don't know, they kind of fall into that gray area where I didn't really buy the books in April or May. Because I bought them in April, but I didn't get them until... Anyway, I call it a gray area. It probably isn't. Regardless, I've got more books than I really need. So I'm going to quickly go through this. Most of them are crime because that's just my genre. That is my genre of choice. So first I have Linwood Barclay's Far From True. Tanya Kappa's A Ghostly Undertaking. I picked this one up because I finished the Casey Daniels series, Pepper Martin series, and I loved it. And it was about a woman who did tours of a graveyard, but she could see ghosts after she fell and hit her head. And this has a similar premise. This one's about a local undertaker who's bopped on the head by a falling Santa and now can see ghosts. So yeah, that's... I think, hopefully it's not too similar to the Casey Daniels series because that would be disappointing. I have the second book in the Fred Vargas An Uncertain Place. This is the Commissaire Adamsberg. Adamsberg. He's a French detective. These are translated from French. And I really enjoyed the first one, which was Chalk Circle Man. And so now I've finally got the second one that I can get around to. I have heard so many of you talking about Ruth Rendell, so I picked up Inspector Wexford's first case, From Dune with Death. I figured there's no better place to start than with the first book in the series. We'll see how that goes, but I'm really looking forward to it because so many people have been talking about Ruth Rendell lately. P.D. James, An Unsuitable Job for a Woman. P.D. James writes the Adam Dalgliesh series, which is based in England. And this is the first book in the Cordelia Gray series. Just want to see... Yeah, she's a young detective. Oh, she's actually a private investigator. So, I'm excited about that. I'm not done the Adam Dalgliesh series yet, but this one has been calling my name for a while, so I needed to buy it, much like all of these. Then I have a huge love of Kurt Wallander. He is the police detective, the Swedish police detective, written by Henning Mankell, and this is Firewall. I believe this is the next one I have in the series to read. I hope it's the next one in the series for me to read. I don't think I've been reading them in order though, so it's not really a big deal if it is not the next in the series. I thought I had another one yet, but I do not. And then I picked up Tarkan Hall's The Case of the Missing Servant. This is set in India, and it's Vish Puri, India's self-styled most private investigator. So another cozy-seeming mystery with a really fun cover. I don't know if you can see that thanks to my super bright lights. Tried some different lighting tonight. We'll see how it goes. I might be really washed out, which would be disappointing. Then I have MJ Arledge's Eeny Meeny. I'm sure I've seen someone talking about this recently on BookTube, but it sounds really interesting. So it's the first in the new series featuring Detective Inspector Helen Grace. Two people are abducted, imprisoned, and left with a gun. As hunger and thirst set in, only one walks away alive. It's a game more twisted than any Detective Inspector Helen Grace has ever seen. If she hadn't spoken with the shattered survivors herself, she almost wouldn't believe them. Helen is familiar with the dark sides of human nature, including her own, but this case, with its seemingly random victims, has her baffled. But as more people go missing, nothing will be more terrifying than when it all starts making sense. So, sounds really fascinating. I love psychological thrillers. I love crime books. Next up, I have been following Chuck Wendig on Twitter forever. I don't even know why I started following him. I knew he was an author, but I had never read any of his books. And for some reason I started following him. He writes this series, which is Blackbird. Well, this is the first book in his Miriam Black series, and it's called Blackbirds. And it's an interesting premise, again. So with one touch, Miriam Black will know how you're going to die. This is not a talent, but a curse. Miriam's been running away from everything and everyone, grifting off the lowlifes to empty their wallets as they die and living on for another day until she meets Louis. When she shakes Louis's hand, Miriam knows he's going to die with her name on his lips. So that is fascinating. There's more to the description, but that's really all you need to know, isn't it? I mean, that got me. That totally dragged me in. And I love this cover. Like, seriously love this cover. So I love him on Twitter. I love following him on Twitter. And it was time for me. This is the second book of his I've bought, and I've still not read the first one, which was Zeros. And finally, this was one that I knew Book Outlet had, but I was waiting for a sale to order it, and the sale came. So this is Misa Ramirez, Hasta La Vista Lola. I read the first book in this series. There's only 3 books in the series. I read the first book in the series in January, and I'm so excited because I'm really disappointed it didn't go past 3 books. It's fantastic. Lola is a Latina who is a private detective, and it's a little bit like Stephanie Plum without being quite so Stephanie Plum. It's not as ridiculous as Janet Ivanovich. Don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing Janet Ivanovich. I love her books, and I've read 22 out of the 23 in that series, so let's not consider that hate. But this is just a little less Stephanie Plum. And it's really good, actually. I really enjoyed the first one, so I had to buy the second one. Finally, oh wait, no, I've got one more book in my Book Outlet haul, and that is Hilary Mantel's Bring Up the Bodies. This is the second book in the Thomas Cromwell series, and the first book being Wolf Hall, which I read earlier this year, and this one's much shorter, thankfully. But yeah, book 2 in that series. And then finally, this one is not from Book Outlet. This is from a conference I recently went to. So I was lucky enough to be able to go to a conference for work, and it wasn't a book conference, it was a technology conference. I am in technology after all. And they had a breakfast for women in technology, and they had a lunch for women in technology. I signed up very quickly for the breakfast. It didn't conflict with any of the sessions I wanted to do. So I signed up for the breakfast, and when we went to the breakfast, it turned out there was a speaker, and the speaker provided us with her book. Actually, a signed copy of her book. Can you see that? I don't think so. Anyway, so Necessary Inclusion, Embracing the Changing Faces of Technology. And this is by Avis Yates Rivers. She's fascinating. I loved watching her speak. And she talks about not only women in technology, but people of color in technology. So when you look at STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, I believe it's math, you will find that the greatest proportion of the workforce in those fields are men. They're white men. The second highest population in those fields is Asian men. And then all the way down to, I believe, black women or something like 2 or 4% of the workforce. So this book is fascinating. I haven't actually, well, she's fascinating. I shouldn't say the book is. I haven't had a chance to get into it yet. It's only been about a week since I got home from that conference. But I'm really looking forward to reading this, and I hope to be doing, because I've got my whole careers in technology segment that I haven't been doing videos for. So I'm planning to do a book review of this as part of that, as well as talking more about women in technology as part of that. So yeah, that's my book haul. I picked up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books. I haven't been reading that many books off my shelves, so I think I said it last month, but I'm saying it again this month. It has to stop. So until I get some of these cleaned off my shelf, I will not be buying any more books. I will not. Really mean it. I do mean it. I don't plan to buy any more books. Wish me luck on that. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.